So welcome to Code with Sodo. Hi, I am Sodo Santo Dotto, an AIML undergraduate, and I completed my research internship at IIIT Dharwad in NLP, and I am also GATE 2026 DA paper qualified and passionate at problem solver who loves simplifying coding and concepts. Actually, this channel is built for students who are preparing for any type of product-based companies or FANG interviews or coding rounds or placement. In this channel, we will get daily DSA practice problem, TCS NQT coding sheet, top interview questions and all, and mainly the brute force approach to optimal solution, the explanation of the code and everything. So, I mean, what problem I faced, I will try to solve that problem for you. Yeah, so let's begin the questions. Here we will follow a proper roadmap. We'll try to complete 100 questions that mainly repeats years by years in TCS NQT. That will also help us to crack the prime TCS prime, that is known as TCS prime. So today we'll start our first question. We'll mainly focus on the pattern wise question that are mainly repeated. So today our first question is find smallest element in an array. Okay, so this is our first question. Okay, so first of all we have to keep it in our mind so that we can mainly start our thinking from the question's keyword. Okay, so mainly what does it mean by keywords? See, here is one word or two word we can say, that is smallest, and another one is array. So from the word array we can easily define that it is related to array. The question is related to array, and this is the very beginning step of data structure and algorithm. And from smallest we can identify that it is a question where we have to find out the smallest element in an array. We can do any process, that may be brute force, that may be optimal. So for those who don't know what is the brute force and optimal, brute force mean the approach that can solve the question, but it is not a proper, I mean a good approach. It can solve the question, I mean it may take a long time or it may take more spaces, that will take more time complexity or space complexity, but it can solve the question. Though it's not a good approach, but it can solve the question. Okay, so there are two approaches, that is brute force and another is optimal solution. So first of all, always try to get the brute force approach very fast. Okay, brute force approach actually gives you the concept that how we can say that how you will solve the question. At first we need to start from a point, then we can proceed to the further. So there I will say you one trick, that is if there are certain words or to be specified certain keywords as like largest, smallest, we can say that maximum and minimum. Here we can start our thinking from that. We can keep checking element one by one. No need to worry, I will provide all the iPad notes along with the codes, along with the dry run and along with my handwritten personal notes in the description box. You can find it in the description box. Okay, and you can also follow my LinkedIn for the further updates, or you can also request me or text me in the LinkedIn DM that what content I should provide next. Okay, so let's focus on the question now. We'll complete 3 questions today. One is find the smallest element, next to find the largest element in an array, and the third one is find the second largest and second smallest element in the array. So what process we will mainly follow here? Okay, so what process we will follow? Okay, we will mainly proceed our problems or solve our problem in 3 ways. One is the process what we are thinking to do, the brute force approach. Then we'll code in two languages, one is C++ and one is Python for brute force, and next we'll proceed to optimal solution. There we will also code, we'll give you the code or we'll show you the code in C++ and Python also. Okay, and for codes, the main problem I face each time, I mean in my early phase when I learned how to the codes, then I faced one major problem, that why this line or why this code snippet is written, what does it mean? We cannot identify the thing as like one exclamatory marks, then one equal to. That actually means not equal to, but if you see it in a code snippet and you don't know the fundamentals of that language or the fundamentals of that coding, you cannot identify or you cannot imagine that what does it do. So I will write the code in left side, then for each line I will draw a straight line and I will write what does that line means. Okay, what does that lines mean? Okay, so first of all, let's proceed to the process. What does it mean? What does we think about it? Okay, so first of all, we are proceed to process. Okay, so process actually means, let's visualize the thing. What is an array? Array actually doesn't collection of, you can, I'm not giving you the formal definition. Array means like a block. Okay, a block where you can store any values. That is the, I mean, the lump sum of the array. Okay, let's draw an array. And what does the question says? Let's the array is, this is the array. Okay, this is the array. 2, 5, 1, 3 and 0. Okay, this is the array. Okay, now let's check. Here we mentioned one word, that is what is the pen? Okay, we are keep checking one by one. I said checking one by one. Okay, so let's check. Okay, so I'm traversing from this side. You know the traversing means like following a proper route to travel through the array from the beginning point to the end point. Okay, so when we're traveling to the very first, we can see the first element we got, that is 2. So 2 is the smallest number right now, not for future. Right now the 2 is the smallest number. We just got 2 now, so the first element we got is the unique and is the smallest number. Okay, next from 2 we are going or we are traversing to the next value of the array, that is 5. Okay, now 2 is less than 5. Okay, so 2 is still smallest. Okay, let me mark it 1 and 2 step. 1 and 2 are the steps. Okay, let's proceed to the next. Now we can check the next element is 1. So now 1 is less than 2, right? So now 1 is smallest. Okay, and now next step. Now again 1 is less than 3, so now still 1 is smallest. Okay, 1 is smallest. And 4, now 0 is less than every element in that array, so 0 is less than we can say 1 or 2 and 3, anything. So 0 is smallest. So I mean, this is the process. At the very end we have to just return what we have to return, the smallest element. Return will be then 0. Okay, so what if, now we will think how to solve this question, how we'll solve this question. So first of all, we are thinking about the brute force approach. Brute force approach means maybe the worst approach, but it can solve the question. It has the capability to solve that question. Okay, so the very initial phase, a person, I mean you and me, imagine that we don't know coding. Okay, but I mean we just know a little bit about coding. We don't know the deep of data structure and all. We can just think if we rearrange the elements or the values in a order, it may be ascending or descending. Then if we do it ascending order, then try to imagine that the very first element will be the smallest element. Let me draw it. This is the array. Okay, this is the provided array. This is the provided array. Which is the provided array? 2, 5, 1, 3 and 0. This is the array. Okay, this is the provided array. I mean, that is defined in the question. I will pin the question in the notes also. Okay, or it will be shown in this section. Okay. Now if we will sort this array in an ascending order, see, the first element we are getting is the 0, 2, 3 and 5, and see, sorting, see, this element is the smallest element. This is the smallest element. Okay, this is the smallest element. Okay, fine, this is the smallest element. Okay, so what does the brute force approach contains? I mean the steps. Okay, sort the array. Next is find the very first element. Find the very first element. It will be obviously automatically the smallest element. Okay, but there's a catch. You know time complexity. If you want to know what is the time complexity, I'm just saying you what will be the time complexity here. If you want to know more details, just pin me a comment, just drop a comment in the comment box, or you can DM me in LinkedIn or anywhere. So here the time complexity will be, first we are doing sorting, right? Sorting actually cause big O of n log n. That is not a good approach. That will take a long time. That is not an optimal solution. But yeah, we have to pass the TCS NQT. We have to run the code. We have to submit the code. So we can do it. If we do this, there will be no such problem. So let's proceed to the code section. Okay, let's proceed to the code section. What will be the brute force approach? C++ code. I will give you or teach you two codes, CPP and Python, not Java. Okay, cause I am not also comfortable in Java, to be very honest. I do DSA in C++, and as my domain is AIML, so I do all the codes and everything in Python. So yeah, I need not Java for my any type of practices and all. So let's proceed to the brute force C++. So first, actually we get to know that we just have to do the sorting. Okay, we just have to do the sorting, and then everything will be happen automatically. We don't need to do anything. It's just a very automated way, like, yeah. So for C++, if you don't know C++, don't panic. I will say you everything from the very beginning to the advanced, just that is required for the coding or to solve the question. But I will not say everything in a single question. I will say the concept or the code snippet or the syntax as required for that question, then we can utilize it properly. Okay, so the C++ actually starts from this has include IO stream. Okay, I am keeping a blank space in the right side so that I can write what does the line mean actually. Let me first complete the whole code. I am explaining it, but for your information, to note it down, to understand it properly, I will write everything. Okay, let me write down the code first, try to understand it, and again I will run this code in the compiler. Okay, just to show you what is it working properly or not. Okay, so has include IO stream actually as a library of C++, that actually helps to take input and output. We can print output and input, or we can initialize input and output through this library. Without this, C out or C in will not work. Those who don't know C++, for them I am saying that C out actually helps to print the output, and C in actually helps to print the input. Okay, and those who know the C++, you can understand it properly. Okay, but I will write it down. No need to panic, no need to note down right now, just try to understand the thing. Okay, next, has include. We will here use one library that is actually algorithm. Why does it need? I will say it a bit later. For now, just keep it aside. Just imagine or just can try to understand that there is a library we need to run here. I will just say after 5 to 10 seconds that why does it occur. Okay, now we will open the main function, that is int main. That is the main function, and under the main function we will write the whole code snippet. Okay, now we will start how to code this. Okay, first of all we have to create that array. For C++ we have to mention what type of value the array actually containing. So we are dealing with the numbers. We said that smallest element, and you can see here that let me mark it. Yeah, that actually contains numbers. Okay, so let me down. So what does the numbers mean? Integer, right? It's also mean float, but we are dealing with the integer number. Okay, so int add is the name of the array. Okay, you can do it anything, ar, anything. Okay, third bracket, then equal to second bracket, then we will create that array. So what the value that array contains, that is 2, 5, 1, 3 and 0. You can see that array is not in sorted format, right? Sorted, it means it is not in ascending or it is not in descending order, right? Okay, so and here we use semicolon just to end that line. Okay, next we have to do one thing, that is I'm writing it first, then I'm explaining. Okay, so I'm writing int n. Okay, int n equal to size of bracket array divided by size of array of 0. I know you cannot understand this, why I wrote this. Okay, so here actually the thing is happening here. Okay, let me write down one more line, then I'm explaining all these 4 lines. Okay, next we are doing the sort. Okay, from array to array plus n, and then we are using cout to print our output, that is smallest element is then again array of 0. Cause why we say that array of 0? Cause if we do the sorting, the 0th indexed element will be the smallest element. We can return it, we can print it easily. So we are just return 0. That is the whole code snippet. Okay, now the main thing is now we can say that the main thing is what does all the code snippet means. Okay, let me write down it. Okay, try to understand. Has include IOStream, actually a library, I'm writing it here, library to use input or output. Without it, cin or cout will not work. Okay, this is for IOStream, we have to use it always. Okay, now for algorithm, this is the library. It contains actually built-in function, What does the built-in function means? Built-in function means, let me write down here, sort. Okay, sorting, reversing. Okay, this is the function actually means where previously we instructed some instruction or activity. If we call that function, it will do that by its own. Okay, so we need not, if we call that sort function, it will directly sort that array. Okay, int main is the, the int main is the main function. Okay, I forgot to write one line that is important too much. I am putting a star is let me change the color. I am putting a star is here. Okay, I'm writing here, but I'm writing it refreshing here. Using namespace std. I forgot to write this, sorry for that. Actually, what does it mean in C++? If we try to print the output, we need to write std double colon then cout, but it's too much time consuming and it feels uncomfortable while typing. So if we use this command or this code snippet using namespace std, we just directly can we can directly just use this, yeah, cout. If we just write, we can use cout directly. We need not to write std double colon cout. Okay. Now let okay, here in this line what we created, we array created. Okay, we created the array. Okay, now proceed to this line. This is the one of the most important line is this in this code snippet. Let me mark it down. Okay, now I am explaining this line properly. Okay, try to focus. Int n equal to size of array, size of 0. Yeah, this is the line. Okay, so what does the line means? It means actually to calculate the array size automatically. Let me write it. To calculate the array size automatically. Now you will ask me, or you have a confusion, how does it work? I mean, how we can just directly, automatically calculate the array size. Okay. So what does it mean? The very first line, size of array. Size of array means the total. Let me mark it. Total size of the array. Total size of array. I'm just giving you an example. Okay, let total size of array, let's imagine it's 20 byte. Okay, 20 byte. It's 20 byte. Okay, and we mentioned here size of array 0. We can take it any, we can take it any value. Array 0, array 1. It means a single value. Okay, the single value of an array. Okay, single value of the array. Okay, let one integer size is 4 byte actually. 4 byte, sorry for the mistake. Yeah, because it's a array of integer. So what you know now, one integer size is 4 byte. So how much element present there? According to this formula, the value of n will be 20 by 4. That is 5 elements present there, right? 5 elements present there, and we can say it in vice versa, that 5 elements is there. Each integer contains 4 bytes. So what will be the total size? That will be 20 bytes. Okay, so that is the meaning of this code snippet. Okay, next proceed to the next line. What's the pen? Yeah, that's the pen. Next proceed to one of the most important line, to clear the fundamental, that is short add comma add plus 1. Okay, let me write down it. Short add comma add plus n. Okay, add plus n. Okay, so what does it mean? It actually means we can say that short from very beginning till to the end of the array. From 0 1 2 3 4 5. If this is the index of the array, if it is the index of the array, it is starting from here to the last position. From the beginning to the last position, we are sorting the whole array. It means we are sorting the whole array. Okay, and then we are just printing using cout. We are just printing that I am marking it, printing output, printing output, and then we are just using this text, smallest element it, you can write it, it's your node, and that is will be the automatically the first element. Okay, okay, let me again just explaining the concept to visualize you. Okay, this was the array that contains 5 2 3 0 1. Okay, we are performing sorting, and it is becoming in ascending order. We are sorting, so 0 1 2 3 5. So automatically the first element becomes the smallest element here. Okay, and we are returning 0 just to return the value. Okay, that is the code snippet of C++ in brute force. Okay, and that is the code snippet in C++. And if in brute force the Python code will be too much simple, you know, the Python is too simple, everyone knows that. So brute force Python actually, what will be the code? In Python we need not to call any libraries and all. We just simply write as a simple text, English text. We can, to be specified, English text. So here we need not to do any type of things. Just what we are mentioning, array, what we are trying to create, that is array. Yeah, let we initialize the array value 2 5 1 3 0. Yeah, that is the values. And we will just call one function just directly to sort that array. That is too simple, air.sort. It will directly sort the whole array. Okay, and then just print the smallest element. And what will be the smallest element in the after the sorting? Array 0, the 0th index. Yeah, that's the whole code. That is the whole brute force approach. Okay, so that is the whole brute force approach we did. If we submit this code, it will run. Okay, it is not that it's wrong. It's not a good approach or not a too optimal or time complexity optimal approach. It doesn't mean it's a bad code or it's a wrong code. Okay, it will not run. It doesn't mean. But we have to think about optimal approach. So in the next video, I am talking you about the optimal approach. So hello. Next proceed to the optimal approach of this question. Second before, we just completed the brute force approach in 2 languages, that is C++ and Python, and I will provide you a sheet in the description box that will contain all the questions what will solve in future or will discuss in the future. Okay, if you want to suggest any question that you need to discuss or for you need any help, you can DM me in the LinkedIn or you can DM me in the any social media platform. I provide that link in the description or the channel description. You can follow me in anywhere and you can ask me anything. So let's proceed to the optimal approach. Okay, let's proceed to the optimal approach. So optimal approach means, before going to the optimal approach in that the coding word, try to understand. Sometimes we say there's a person who is versatile, who can do anything, like he can play, he can sing, he can recite also. So optimal approach is like that type. Okay, it actually optimized for time complexity and optimized for space complexity. It doesn't acquire too much spaces in the memory, because you know the memory is the too valuable, right? And time complexity, it's provide us a good time complexity, a good range of time in to solve that question or to find out the output. I mean, that is acceptable to us, and that's why it is an optimal approach. So I mean, one thing I say you in the brute force approach, that sorting actually creating the time complexity issues, right? For sorting, what's the time complexity? That is O n log n. Let me write it for brute force. Let me write it for brute force or BF approach. That is O n log n. If you need any explanation in time complexities, just comment down. I will bring a next video explaining this topic. Okay. But the optimal time complexity is On, and we can actually, how we can now bring that On, how can we bring that? We can bring that actually removing that sorting process or that sorting algorithm, because the sorting actually creating that On log n time complexity. So if we remove that sorting, the time complexity will reduce, just there will be O(n). Okay, so what we can do just to get an optimal time complexity of On will, let's think about an approach. Let me write that is approach. Okay, so what will be the approach? We know that, let me draw the array once again. That is the array. I'm writing again that random words. Okay, that is 2 5 3 0 1. Okay, that is unsorted, and we will not sort it. If we sort it, then it will be again O(n log n). So what does it mean of optimal solution, right? So let's proceed to it. Okay, so we'll assume first element of the array as smallest element. Let's see, if I am proceeding, let me change the palette once. It will be, yeah, this is the palette. Okay, if I am proceeding from this side to this side, now if I get a first element, then it will be the most unique element I ever got, and it will be the smallest element I've ever got, because I don't know the other values of that array. So what will be the values? I mean, what will be the approach we are thinking? Can we imagine anyone? The approach will be mainly, so assume the first element of the array as the smallest element. Okay, we can assume that, no issues. Okay, so now the thing is, if it is the smallest element, then I have no issues. But if there may be some values that actually is smaller than that value, okay, so what should do? We will traverse that array. It means I am not using that word traverse, we are just using travel that array. The travel word is more understandable, right? And if any smaller value found, update the smallest. That's it. And what it will give us? It will give us a time complexity of On. Why we are getting On? Because we are not using any sort algorithm, or we are not using any sorting approach. So, and we will, at last we have to print this. I am not writing this here. Okay, let me write down the code first. I am using CPP for fast. Okay, so optimal CPP, optimal C++ code for this. Okay, so okay, just I am asking you a question, that the CPP code is started by has include IOStream, right? So we need to use has include algorithm here, because I said you that has include algorithm is a algorithm that actually helps to call any type of built-in function, right? Such as revert, such as sorting, right? So if we don't sort, so why we need to call that library? So it need not, right? So we will just write has include IOStream. We have to write this library every time, because we have to at last initialize with that I mean input or output. Now if our code doesn't contain input or output, what does it contain? So again we just write that using namespace std, yeah, that is the thing. And next what we'll write, we'll int main. Okay, I'm mentioning you one thing. Wait, when I wrote the Python code, here we just wrote add or array, I mean array. But when I wrote the CPP code, here we mention int array, cause in CPP we have to mention which type of value that array contains, but for Python it doesn't need to mention that. If you want to mention you can, but it doesn't require. Okay, so again we have to see, we will just remove that sorting function or sorting algorithm, right? But rather than everything will be same now. So just we will create that int add, then we'll just create that what is the value of that add is, okay, 25130, that is the values of the array. Okay, now again we will initialize the size as size of what, size of, say size of whole array. Okay, size of whole array divided by size of single, any type of a single value, the size of add of 0th position. Okay, yeah, and we have to mention semicolon each time just to end that statement. Okay, so I said you one thing, we are assuming let me change the color, we are assuming first element as the smallest element, as the smallest element. Okay, then I'm changing the color. What will be the smallest element? I said in CPP you have to mention every data type each time. So the smallest will be also a value, or to be specified also integer value. Okay, so int smallest equal to what will be the first value of that array, that is add 0. We are initializing with that value. Okay, so after that we will run a loop. Why does the loop require? The loop required to traverse that array from the very end, from the very first to very end. Okay, I will write every line of that code's meaning. Okay, let me write down the code first. So for we have to again write int I from the very first, 0 from the very first. Okay, no, that will be from 1. Okay, that will be from 1. Okay, let me clear it 1 second. Yeah, that will be 1 till what is the value, what is the length of that array, what is the length of that array, n. I less than will be n. Okay, and we are increasing to 1 by 1, that is the array we're just increasing 1 by 1, so that will be I plus plus, it will be in increment. Yeah, if we are decrement from, we're traversing through from n to the beginning, that will be I minus minus. Okay, so we are using that loop, we are just traversing the array. Okay, now I am traversing the array. Okay, fine, I am traversing the array. Okay, now I got an element that is smaller than the current smallest element. Okay, that is the I can say that the code snippet will be array of I less than smallest. That is the smallest, you can check here, that is the smallest. Okay, smallest actually contains the very first value of that array. Now we got an value that is smaller than the smallest value. Let me write down here just to make it more clear. That is the array that is not sorted. I said that is not a sorted array. Okay, 5 2 1 0. Okay, so I am traversing from here. Now what is my smallest element? My smallest is 5. Okay, 5. Okay, 5. I am cancelling out and it is 5. Okay, now my smallest is 5. Okay, now again I am traversing. What does the value I get? That is 2. Now the 5 will be updated, this will be cancelled, and the updated value will be 2. Okay, again I traverse and I get the value 1. 1 is less than 2. Okay, so again that will be updated to 1. and again we get 0, that is smallest, or that is smaller than 1, so the updated value is 0. So that is the thing. So if I get a value that is smaller than the smallest, so we will update the value. Let me change the color. We will update that value. That smallest value will be, previously it was array of 0, now it will be array of I. It means the current position of that value, that is the smallest, because that is the smaller than the smallest. So if a value is smaller than the smallest, that will be the smallest value in the array. Okay, just close the brackets and then just use cout and use your command or statement. Smallest is smallest, yeah, and return 0 and close it. That's the approach, optimal approach. And I'm giving you a home task, I'm giving you this, that your home task will be write the Python code for optimal approach and comment that code. Okay, so this is the whole concept or the whole codes of how to find the smallest element in an array. We know how to use the libraries of C++, what is the built-in function of C++, which library calls that built-in function, how we can sort, how we can traverse through the array using a loop, how we can print, how we can initialize a variable. Everything we know from this question. So that is for that question. Thank you for your time. Stay tuned for the next video, and please comment your thought, your opinions. What should I do to better the contents and all, please. Thank you very much.